Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. How kind. I really must get another signature tune. When it goes la, 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 you're kind enough to applaud. And then it goes yeah, yeah, the applause fades miserably away. And by the time it goes da, 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 you're saying, blimey, he looks much older than I thought. It is with mixed emotions that I come amongst you this evening, ladies and gentlemen. You know what mixed emotions are, don't you? That's a man watching his mother-in-law drive over the edge of a cliff in his new car. Because it's rather difficult, actually, to know exactly what odes to start with, because, as you know, I have an enormous repertoire, and, no, madam, that's beer. So it's difficult to know which one to choose. So here we are, odd ode number 1 coming up, pin back your luggos. This is the tale of Petunia Pier, who put health salts in her boyfriend's beer. Then one day, just to pay her out, her boyfriend, name of Percy Prout, muttered, "This will stop her farce," and shoved some fireworks in her glass. Poor Petunia, soppy clot, said bottoms up and scoffed the lot. Then lighting a fag, she murmured, "Cripes, this is a rotten lot of swipes. The stuff they brew's a proper scandal. My tummy's like a Roman candle." Then snorting crossly through her snout, some balls of coloured fire blew out, which fell around her burning bright and set her woolly comms alight. At which she gave a yell of pain and belched out showers of golden rain. Then as she cried, "Oh, what disgrace," a sound just like a squib took place, and several crackers bobbed about and blew Petunia inside out. So Percy took her in a sack round to the local village quack, who looked and with a puckish grin said, "We'll have to blow her back again." And now admits he's puzzled quite just where to put the dynamite. Thank you so much. Now, you know those misprints I do on That's Life, don't you? Well, here's one. Lancashire Evening News, agricultural employment wanted, part-time help, able to milk tractor driver. Hours by arrangement. A Midland councillor is reported to have announced to the world, "I find streaking is morally wrong. If the good Lord had intended us to run around with no clothes on, I'm sure we would all have been born stark naked." Odd ode number 2. Now, Private Percy Nottaclue stood dreaming in the cookhouse queue when on his plate came flopping down a dollop of gritty stuff done brown. And Percy said, devoid of wit, "What is it, mate? It niffs a bit." The cook bloke sneered with fierce invective, "I'm the server up, not a detective." And Percy, dreamy-like, replied, "I couldn't eat that if I tried." The orderly sergeant, coming round, said, "Complaining, eh? You snivelling hound! You finicky swipe! You eat them bits! This is the army, not the Ritz." The orderly officer, with a snub, said, "Gracious man, refusing grub? Don't make me cross, be grateful, do. That's a whipping whistle with gravy, too." The medical officer, a crazy geezer, cried, "Perfectly wholesome. Hold your beezer. Then blindfold yourself and scoff it quick. Allergic to food. Makes me sick." The colonel, passing, bellowed, "What? Spurn army rations, you blistering blot? A crimson banquet provided free? Refuse to eat it? Mutiny! You'd better tell us why, you perishing prawn, or be shot like a snivelling twerp at dawn." Then Percy cried, "Well, shot or bust, or dead from cruel starvation fast. I can't eat that despite your talk. I've lost me blooming knife and fork." headline in the Sun, love on a boat, then PC sticks his oar in. Odd Ode number 3. This is a story based on fact about a famous conjuror's act. The conjurer, to our delight, would saw a girl in half each night, and whilst we cheered with might and main, would quickly make her one again. One night, a tragic thing occurred. He couldn't find the magic word to make the 2 parts one again, so in 2 parts he left poor Jane. Well, when they rang the curtain down, the lady's top half with a frown said, here's a proper how to do, I don't like being left in 2. And said with tears upon her face, I think the whole thing's a disgrace. He answered her, be patient, dear. But when a month passed, then a year, and still he had to her admit he couldn't quite remember it, she angrily began to call him words not magical at all. And through her teeth began to hiss, my union shall hear of this, and telling him he'd gone too far, reported him to her mamma. Her mother called Mrs. Grumps and said, you'll marry her, both lumps. So to the church he took his bride, and people came from far and wide, and heard the parson there what fun, murmuring, now you 3 are one. Like all people on the telly, we get chain letters. All the time one gets these chain letters. And here's one. Dear friend, this chain letter was started by a man like yourself in the hope of bringing relief and happiness to tired businessmen. Unlike most chain letters, this will not cost you anything. Simply send a copy of this letter to 5 of your friends who are equally tired. Then bundle your wife up and send her to the man whose name is at the top of the list. Then add your name to the bottom of it. When your name comes to the top of the list, you will receive 15,625 women. And some of them will be smashers. Have faith. Do not break the chain. One man did break the chain and got his old woman back again. Yours very sincerely, a tired businessman. P.S. At the time of writing, a friend of mine has received 163 women. They buried him yesterday, and everyone present said that he had a smile on his face for the first time in years. Now, some of you in the audience, of course you don't look it, but you must be old enough to remember that I did odd odes during the war. And here, I think, is really a typical wartime odd ode. This is the tale of Queenie Feather, who fire-watched in all sorts of weather. And being rather scared of bombs, she made herself some tin-line comms. And went on duty unafraid, tin hat, tin comms, bucket and spade. One night, on hearing the alert, she filled her bucket up with dirt, then scurried up the attic stairs to stand amongst the falling flares. Well, just as she was feeling tired, an anti-aircraft gun was fired. And as the shell went whizzing past, the tin comms couldn't stand the blast. And though poor Queenie tried to duck it, she fell headfirst in her dirty bucket. So holding her courage in her hand, she stood like an ostrich in the sand. The shell which bent our Queenie double landed a Jerry plane in trouble, and the pilot shouting, "Here I come," landed on poor Queenie's back. The tin comms acted like a skewer, and Hitler's Air Force was one fewer. Now, like a soldier of the line, our Queenie is a heroine. The George Medal awarded the mayor to give it, and for the comms, a golden rivet. Another misprint, Falkirk Herald, personal. Mrs. Jean Stewart would like to thank relatives, friends, and staff also banned, and Mr. John O'Hara, who gave her a grand night on August the 8th. There's gratitude for you. Ode number whatever it is. In a supermarket, Mavis Holly put her son Fred in the shopping trolley. Then round the store she pushed her load, whilst he, like bird a seer, rode. And neighbours yelled, "See her tomorrow, here's Mavis with her little horror." As Mavis selected a pork chop, her son pushed off around the shop. He tore a passing lady's stocking, bruised the manager's yogurt, something shocking, and Mavis, not knowing what was on, yelled, "Where's me flipping basket gone?" To which Fred answered, "Never fear, your little basket's over here." "I'm by the biscuits," he did frown. "I think the biscuits will be coming down." The manager, gazing at the heap, wrote, "Broken biscuits, coming cheap." Then he made a grab at Fred, who swerves, with increased speed, past the hors d'oeuvres. The cashier yelled, "Hi, what's the cater?" as he stole 12 packs of toilet paper. Then, trying to dodge the assistant Winnie, ripped all the buttons off her pinny, which brought a round of loud applause from all the husbands in the stores. Then young Fred pushed harder with his legs and landed in some new-laid eggs. The manager whimpered, "Listen, son, you've had your little bit of fun." And before he finished with a sob, an overripe melon hit his gob. Then, sliding on an olive oil slick, fell upon his prunes in arsepick. To Mavis he said, "Leave the store and don't fetch him in any more." Crestfallen, Mavis took young Fred and joined a queue with two ahead. Fred tried to look scarce, and Molly, fied, hid at the bottom of the trolley. O'er Fred, down in the dark interior, there hung a female's large posterior. And as they queued there, bumper to bumper, he shoved a French loaf up her jumper. When Mavis got home, give her a cheer, she practiced self-service on Fred's rear. He's banned now from inside the store, tied up with the dogs outside the door. He once made a St. Bernard dizzy and keeps the RSPCA quite busy. Oh, you are kind, and now I'm going to sing. So, are you ready, maestro? Don't spare the cadenzas, a 1, a 2. There's a body in our system and it's bunging up the pipes. It's the body of our dear old Auntie Nell. Me Uncle Herbert done her in before he went away. He's a wicked man and he will go to hell. He knew that poor old Auntie had some lollies salted down in a stocking underneath the spare room bed. She cried, "Let go, me garter, 'cause I know what you are." He bashed her bonds and left her very dead. Now cops get in a twitter if you leave a lot of litter, especially if you leave a bod around. An acid bath is tricky, dissecting 'em is sticky, and burying 'em will leave a little mound. So he lifted up the trapdoor that leads into our loft without a by your leave or even thanks. And that isn't all, cock. He shoved aside the ballcock and pushed her in the largest of the tanks. Having hid the evidence, he rang an airline up and bought a one-way ticket to Peru, which, as she had 10,000 in negotiable bonds, was a thing that he could well afford to do. We didn't miss poor auntie for nigh on 18 months. We thought that she had gone the primrose path. Till one night when bathing, Dad turned on the bathroom tap, and out popped Auntie's eyeball in the bath, which accounts for why our Dad was a nagging of our Mum, accusing her of being far too free. Because in spite of all her protests that she'd only use one spoon, he complained of too much body in his tea. There's a body in our cistern and it's bunging up the pipes. It's the body of our dear old Auntie Nell. Me Uncle Herbert done her in before he went away. He's a wicked man and he will go to hell. Wicked man and he will go to wicked man and he will go to wicked man and he will go to hell. Another odd ode coming up, Luggles Akimbo. Poor little Cleopatra Drain will never seem the same again. One night, some little time ago, whilst Ma was at a picture show, thinking she might immerse herself, she took a tin bath from the shelf, and then removing her attire, she bathed before the kitchen fire. Her future might have held some hope had she not trodden on the soap. Looking like nature in the raw, she skidded on the kitchen floor, then finished up this flight so strange by sitting on the kitchen range. The red-hot stove, I hate to say, was trademarked in the usual way. Poor Cleo, gazing in the glass, Poor Cleo, gazing in the glass, discovered what had come to pass. For where she sat, the poor girl saw, branded the word Excelsior. Well, war broke out, and like a shot, her patriotism burnt red hot. She went and joined the ATS, who asked her, would she please undress? The commandant exclaimed, come, come. What is that word you have there, chum? A code word, unless I'm a chump, that means an ammunition dump. We'll have to blot it out, I guess, and find another one unless you want to be shot as a spay, but no one wants to see you die. So they called in a local painter chap who altered Cleopatra's map and substituted, what a farce, the bold words, please keep off the grass. I would like to tell you of these two friends of mine who were mountaineering in Switzerland, and they're about 30, 40, perhaps 50,000 feet up, every little Alps, and they're joined together. No, they're not married, they're chaps. No, it's a rope that joins them, you know, like they do with mountaineers, and one of them was very careless and he slipped, and the rope broke, and he fell 40,000 feet down a crevasse on a sort of ledge of rock. His name was Prendergast, which is worse almost than falling 40,000 feet on a ledge of rock. Now Farquhar, that's the name of the chap on the mountain, at the top of the mountain. He looks down and he calls, are you all right, Prendergast? Is he all right? On this ledge of rock, stretched out. I'm all right. This is character acting. I'm all right, except I can't move my arms or my legs. Farquhar calls out, don't worry, Prenders. They were at school together. Don't worry, Prenders, I'll drop this rope down to you and you can receive it in your magnificent molars and I will pull you up that way. And this kind man, Farquhar, drops this rope, splendid aim, plumb into Prendergast's Keiko. Slap into his gob. He seizes it between his magnificent molars. And then begins this splendid battle. Farquhar pulls. Prendergast holds on. Farquhar pulls. Prendergast holds on. Shut up, I can't do it if I laugh. Farquhar pulls. Prendergast holds on. Farquhar pulls. You've got the idea. This goes on through the long winter's afternoon. By the time the reddened sun is shining on the crystal snow, Farquhar has got Prendergast within a few feet of safety. This magnificent battle between man and nature. Farquhar gets excited and makes this terrifying mistake. He calls out, "Are you all right, Prendergast?" Prendergast replies, "I'm all right!" It's sad, isn't it? Odd ode to finish this half. This is the tale of Willie Wapshots, so very fond of taking snapshots, who asked his fiancée, rather rude, to pose genteelly in the nude. She said, "I do not query whether you should snap my altogether, but let's make it refined and simple. Don't forget to take my dimple." So as he rushed, floodlights to switch on, she blushingly stood without a stitch on, and chose poses pleasant but not naughty, 7 by the pianoforte, 3 by the cooker, so bewitching, frying mushrooms in the kitchen. And though she had to oust the cat, 1 by welcome on the mat. The film complete, a problem hinted, where was he to get it printed? The results he knew would be delectable, but the local shop was so respectable. Then, as a magazine advised, he saw a firm who advertised. He sent it off, and patiently, after 3 weeks, he eagerly opened the pack, and did he yell he, cried, "These photos ain't mine now, he!" Had they done this to him on purpose? Pictures of 3 clergymen, each in surplus. He sent them back, and in a note most angrily these words he wrote, "I did not take these holy bruffers. Mine were of Nelly in the buffers." A few days passed. The postman brought the package that poor Willie sought. His photos and a note were seen. They fell from the parish magazine. The photos checked, he took the book out, the Church of Luke upon the lookout. The note said, "The Reverend Theophilus Knott would like 1 copy of the lot." My curate, the Reverend Phineas Flat, wants 2 of welcome on the mat, whilst I, the Reverend Jethro Bloater, would like the lady in the photo, undressed as all her photos are, to come and open our bazaar. We'll say, in case the ladies wail, she gave her clothes to the jumble sale. Nothing else could stand in parity to such an act of barefaced charity.